Welcome to PWS United, a podcast for the Prader-Willi syndrome community, brought to you by PWSA USA. This podcast gives the latest news in research, advocacy, and family support by bringing together staff, volunteers, PWS treatment specialists, biotech and pharmaceutical representatives, caregivers, family members, and individuals with PWS. Our goal is to share education, awareness, and resources with those living with PWS and their supporters. Join us in our mission to enhance the quality of life and empower those affected by Prader-Willi syndrome.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to PWS United. Today's episode feels especially meaningful for our community. It's been 1 year since the first FDA-approved treatment for hyperphagia and Prader-Willi syndrome. And during that time, PANTHERx Rare Pharmacy has walked alongside families as the exclusive distributor, helping them navigate access to this therapy. We know that starting a new treatment can feel overwhelming. Families are often juggling insurance questions, prior authorizations, appeals, coordination with clinicians, and a lot of uncertainty along the way. But what isn't always visible is the amount of work happening behind the scenes to support families through that process. And today, we're joined by members of the PANTHERx Rare Pharmacy team to reflect on what this past year has looked like, what they've learned working with the PWS community, and how their rare care model supports families, and what families might expect if they're having treatment conversations with their clinicians. This conversation is part of our ongoing commitment to highlight the progress in the PWS community and recognizing the partnerships that help support individuals and families every day. So let's begin with introductions. Can each of you go around and just tell us who you are and what your role is with the PANTHERx Rare Pharmacy?
Yes, my name is Richard Ferris, and I'm the Chief Commercial and Clinical Officer with Panther. I am a pharmacist, so used to dealing with these therapies, and just really excited to be here today.
My name is Sherry Toth. I am the Rare Care Supervisor overseeing our operations team here at Panther, and I'm also a pharmacist by trade.
Hi, my name is Vincent Kelly. I am the supervisor for patient access here with Panther. I am in charge of the IRS/billing team on the team and really excited to be a part of this today.
My name is Tabor Maskery. I'm the account director at Panther for the program and really work with all the teams at Panther to ensure cohesiveness and that we're meeting the needs of our patients.
Great. Thank you, guys. And I'm also joined by Melanie Zalman, our Director of Development. Thanks, everyone, for being here.
Thanks so much, Stacy, for leading this important conversation. So I'm Director of Development at PWSA USA and also a mom to Josephine, age 7, with Prader-Willi syndrome, and had the pleasure of meeting many of these great people from Panther during a visit that our leadership team took to Pittsburgh just a few months ago. So I was very excited to hear about this conversation and wanted to be a part of acknowledging 1 year of this treatment being on the market and Panther playing such an important role in helping PWS families access this important clinical treatment. So glad to have everybody here and excited to be a part of things. So Richard, with your hat on, can you speak to what does the 1 year milestone of supporting families accessing this treatment look like for your team? What does it look like and feel like?
Thanks, Melanie. 1 year is hard to believe it's been that. On the other hand, to some extent, it seems like we've been working with this population for a long time. You know, it really doesn't feel like the time period is as important as it really is. How did we help people over that period of time? Much like was mentioned, helping them to navigate some of the issues that are there for just accessing therapy in the marketplace. You know, what does it look like to not just get the prescription filled, but how do you go through the coordination of care, the getting the approvals, all the questions and the uncertainty? I remember upon launch, there was a lot of excitement that was built up there, a lot of pent-up demand, a lot of hope for the families that were there waiting for this therapy. And really what mattered most for us is just being able to consistently show up for these people, for their families, for the individuals that needed the therapy, who are living with Prader-Willi syndrome. And really, it gets them on the therapy and helps them again to achieve the moments in life that are most important to them. And as I look back in that 1 year period, it really is about hearing the stories about being able to take a vacation for the first time and not having to have certain restrictions in the home environment or in other places. Those are the kind of things as we think back over the year, that's what matters most is helping people in their everyday life and seeing them reach milestones that they didn't really think could be possible previous to this. That's what's most exciting as I look back over the year.
Having had the experience of meeting with different members of the Panther team, I know that patient and family and caregiver stories play a huge role in kind of what keeps you guys going and fuels your efforts to help families access, this medication and others in other rare disease states that you work with. Can you talk about why it matters?
Yeah, the why it matters again is that these individuals, and we, as you mentioned, Melanie, we work with a lot of different rare disease populations, which are smaller populations that require customization. It requires a different viewpoint. It's not just a one size fits all that we see. And I came out of traditional specialty many years ago. I've been with Panther 8 years, but rare disease pharmacy really is different. And it's the complexity and that every delay has more of an impact on those individuals. So as we really think about it, it's like, how do we care for these people on a daily basis? How are we able to help them again to live on a day-to-day basis, achieving things and seeing moments and experiencing moments in their life that really do matter to them? We love to hear those stories because it puts a face to what we do. And a lot of times we were actually just at the research walk where we were able to interact with a lot of individuals and family members and parents and others. And just to hear how we work with them differently than any other pharmacy that they're used to experiencing just told me we're on the right path. We're doing the right things. And again, what matters the most is we put that face to the people that we serve, and our team does this on every single day. That they know that there's somebody that they're helping. There's somebody there that has hope today that didn't have hope previous to this, and that's really why it matters. The why is like your daughter, it's other individuals here that are living with Prader-Willi that we meant. That's the why. It's really to help people to have a better life.
Richard, as you talk, I can't help but think of over the last year seeing and hearing the stories we hear from families, but also from an organizational perspective. It feels like I've known you guys and we've been partnered for so much longer than 1 year. And that is not a feeling that I think we've ever had with any other pharmacy. I think that kind of leads into we talk very often about the rare pharmacy, but I'm not sure that our listeners really understand the difference between a rare pharmacy and a specialty pharmacy in their pharmacy down the street. So could you talk a little bit about what that difference is and, what classifies a pharmacy as a rare pharmacy?
Yeah, thanks, Stacy. And like I said earlier, we feel the same. It feels like we've known y'all for a long time and love this community so much. Yeah, there are some real differences. I mean, I've been in the pharmacy profession for a lot of years, and yeah, that pharmacy down the street. Look, my wife's a retail pharmacist. I've been involved in this a long time. They're dealing with everything. And you think about the disease states that are the most prevalent, whether it be diabetes, congestive heart failure, ear infections, just all kinds of things that happen on a regular basis to people. That's kind of your general pharmacy. Then you have specialty pharmacy, which started out some 30 odd years ago that was really some of the higher cost medications that are out there. What's happened in specialty pharmacy now is they still are some relatively higher cost medications, but you have things like multiple sclerosis that have 400,000 people in the United States and rheumatoid arthritis, similar numbers there. They're dealing with much bigger disease states. A lot of them I would call a little bit more commoditized in nature in terms of the number of therapies and maybe not quite the complexity that we see. With rare diseases, it really has its own ecosystem. I mean, there's 10,000 rare diseases out there, of which maybe 700 have an FDA approved treatment. there just are not that many. And so the populations are typically smaller, the journeys are more complex, and the support needed should be much more highly individualized to that population, and not even just the population, but the individuals within the population. Our goal is really simple, is to make rare disease more personal and less overwhelming for people with Prader-Willi and their families. How do we shrink this down and understand their needs to meet those? And that's what rare disease really is. It's really hard to classify exactly what deals with or would make someone a rare disease pharmacy, because there's a lot of pharmacies that may dispense rare disease drugs. What's different about Panther is this is all we focus on, whereas there are a few thousand medications that are available out there, and probably, you know, 5 to 700 specialty medications. Panther only dispenses 39 medications today. We don't dispense all of those other drugs that go along with, different types of diseases and diagnoses that are out there. We're not trying to be everything to everyone. We want to be great at what we do for the Prader-Willi population and our other 38 medications that we dispense. So we're very focused on that. It allows us to have drug-specific teams that deal only with these therapies. So we know a lot about the patient journey. We understand those key words that people often talk about, and that will trigger additional input and intervention to help and empower that family to take the medication the way it's intended in the home so we can get the right outcomes from it. So that's really what rare disease is about. It's about hyper-personalizing our pharmacy system to that individual population.
I'm so glad that Stacy asked that question, because I remember having a conversation that might have been a little over a year ago, when I met Bill and Sean on your team for the first time and was trying to understand, as a PWS parent, what is a rare disease pharmacy or rare pharmacy compared to a retail pharmacy, compared to a specialty pharmacy. I think many families with PWS are accustomed to getting growth hormone, which is, the other treatment that is commonly prescribed. And I get that personally from a specialty pharmacy. So it was explained to me early on what the difference is. But I think you're right, Stacy. I think a lot of families, until they have reason to engage with a rare pharmacy, may not know the difference and may not understand the care model. And then even learning about rare pharmacy and hearing about Panther and how Panther is structured differently, which I think Sherry and Tabor and Vince are going to get into later on this conversation, is really, really helpful, just to understand what the model is and how it's different and what that can mean to a family that's, needing to seek out the particular treatment that you guys make available. So thank you for explaining that. It's not something that I think is always obvious to families, and PWS parents, rare parents especially, are bombarded with information and often have to be, the expert in the room or the expert in whatever conversation they're a part of on behalf of their loved one with PWS. So really, really helpful to hear about it. So can you say just a little bit more about what is the difference, if you had to distinguish between retail, specialty, and rare? Is there one thing that makes a difference fundamentally for that?
Yeah, that's a great question, and saying one thing might be a little bit difficult, but what I would say is it really is a focus and understanding on the individual needs of that population. It's all about specialization. If you think about what most pharmacies deal with, it goes across the spectrum, whether it's retail, the disease states I mentioned previously, or specialty. Typically, they have to know about a lot of disease states. What differs with rare is we bring that down to one. We bring that down to a single disease, a single therapy, and understand everything about it. And candidly, I think the way that it's built, it is fundamentally different in how we think about and interact with the population that needs it. It does become much more personalized. And what I heard at the Research Day walk is they feel like with your growth hormone, when you call the pharmacy, it's a checkbox: name, address, date of birth, and it was just checking boxes all the way down to just get off the phone. Whereas at Panther, it feels like a conversation. And I think that's what's different with rare disease, is it's rare care. It's providing care and personalization at a different level, where that person on the other end of the phone feels it. It feels like this is somebody that's with me, that is a partner with me, not just a vendor transactional will get you the drug. I think that's what the difference is.
Thank you so much for that, and I'm glad you brought up rare care because my next question is specifically about that, and it's for Sherry. Can you talk about what does the Panther Rare Care Model look like in practice? I know that I got a little bit of a behind the scenes experience of rare care and got to meet members of the team and speak about our rare disease state and about some of the challenges our families experience. But Sherry, from your perspective, can you talk about that?
Sure, Melanie, I'd love to. Rare Care Model is built around dedicated and specialized teams, each with a clear role in supporting our families. At the center of our team are our care coordinators. They're the primary and direct points of contact for our patients, their families, and caregivers. They take the calls every day, they build relationships over time, and they really get to know each family's story, not just their prescription. Supporting them, we have a broader clinical and operational team kind of working behind the scenes, make sure that care is safe, coordinated, and consistent.
Thanks, Sherry. I was talking with a family who had shared that they now recognize the voice on the other end of the phone when they call. And that's something that is so special and unique to you guys. One of the things that I think would be helpful for people to understand is what actually happens once the clinician sends the prescription.
Yeah, once we receive a prescription at Panther, it's reviewed by our pharmacist team who work directly with the physician's office. They will clarify any prescription details, confirm dosing that's accurate, and ensure everything is safe and appropriate for our patients. Before any medication is ever shipped, each patient or caregiver will receive an initial pharmacist counseling session. During this counseling, we help our families understand what to expect from therapy. And again, this happens prior to even sending out that first shipment.
That's fantastic. Thank you. I had the opportunity to meet so many members of your team when our leadership team came to the pharmacy and got a little behind the scenes look at what you guys do. But one of the things that I think for me personally, and probably all of our listeners, is there's so many of you, and it feels like there's so many of you. I'm sure that, the team is relatively small, but it feels like there's a lot of people who know about PWS. So what types of team members do you guys have on your PWS specific rare care team that are supporting families through this process? What does that look like?
Yeah, so as previously mentioned, we have our care coordinators who are really the face of our team. They are that direct, ongoing point of contact for our families. Each of them is assigned their own patient panel. So as you stated, they're recognizing the same voice each month. With that patient panel, families are, ensuring that each team member is dedicated to their own patient family, which is great. This helps us to build trust and really understand each family's unique situation and allows them to respond to their individual needs. We then have our pharmacist team. They communicate directly with the prescribers to confirm that dosing is safe and effective for our patients. They also provide a 20 to 30-minute initial counseling call with our families or caregivers. Again, this happens before the first shipment. This helps to educate families on things like dosing, titration, side effects, expectations for therapy, and when to seek medical attention. They're also available throughout the patient journey for any questions that may come up with the patients or caregivers. And then lastly, we have our clinical authorization and appeal specialists, or what we call our CAS team. These team members are all registered nurses, and they work directly with the physician's office and the insurance plan, help coordinate the medication coverage for our patient.
Can you tell us a little bit more about what that looks like? So, how do you assist with the benefit investigation, the prior authorizations, and financial assistance, all that stuff that families typically have had to do on their own with other drugs?
Yeah, our nursing team evaluates each patient's individual insurance plan. and supports prior authorizations based on those plan-specific requirements. Some plans require electronic submission using platforms such as Cover My Meds, while others require customized plan-specific forms. So it's really not ever a one-size-fits-all situation with these. They're really individualized and based on patient chart notes, clinical history, labs, and physician documentation. Appeals are then reviewed and submitted by the prescriber, and this personalized approach is really what often leads to our approvals. Throughout this process, our main goal is really to reduce that burden on patient families while ensuring that we are keeping care moving forward.
I'm not sure I can ever find the words to express just how special it is that you guys do that and how meaningful it is to this community. It's really incredible.
Yeah, thanks, Stacy.
I want to second that. During our short visit with you guys in Pittsburgh, we had several PWS parents who have loved ones with PWS at different ages, and we were sort of just talking and telling our stories as a part of your education and training, which I know is sort of our next question. But I want to say that as a PWS parent, or as any parent who has a medically complex child of any age could tell you, anytime I'm calling a pharmacy, an insurance company, a doctor's office, any kind of resource available to me, I feel like I'm always stepping into that moment expecting a fight, expecting difficulty, expecting an obstacle, expecting adversity. And so knowing that there is someone I could reach out to at Panther when I have a problem or a challenge or something I need, and that person is well positioned and well prepared to advocate for me when I'm so used to advocating for my child on my own, and everything feels like such a process and such a fight. It's a really invaluable thing that you guys do, and I know a lot of families who've been through that process with Panther who've said just the warmest, most lovely things about the help that you've provided. So agree, Stacy. I think that's absolutely, there's no way to articulate the value of that for our community. So outside of the visit that our team had with you, can you talk, Sherry, about, all of these people that are on your teams? Some of them have a pharmacy background, some of them might have a healthcare background, others may not. But even so, there's a lot of physicians and a lot of pharmacists and a lot of people who may not have ever heard about Prader-Willi syndrome until they're working in the space. So can you speak a little bit about what does the training about PWS as a disease state look like for your rare care team? And what kind of specific training does everyone receive, both as a part of their onboarding and then maybe ongoing?
So all of our team members at Panther receive an initial disease state training before joining the program, and that comes from our specialized clinical team. They also receive therapy-specific training, which is provided in collaboration with our manufacturer and our pharmacovigilance partners. This is not, however, a one-time training. It's updated regularly with ongoing education to really deepen that understanding of PWS over time. We also work very closely with you all at PWSA USA to help provide additional education and resources to help ensure our teams are staying current.
Thank you for that. My next question is a little bit tricky because, as you know, what our families are looking to do when they connect with you is to get clinical support and treatment for their loved one's hyperphagia. And since PWS is such a spectrum disorder and hyperphagia is so prevalent and people are in different phases of that and experiencing that in different ways, how do you ensure that the staff on the rare care team really understand hyperphagia and are able to kind of speak to the unique needs of PWS families on their journey?
So one of the most important things that we recognize is that when you've seen one PWS patient, you've seen only one PWS patient. Hyperphagia affects every individual and every family differently, so there's really no single template for care. Hyperphagia is life-altering, not just for the patient, but really for the entire family. It shapes safety planning, emotional dynamics, and day-to-day challenges. At Panther, we emphasize flexibility and personalization, really meeting families where they are and adapting to their needs. Team regularly collaborates internally to share insights and learn from real patient experiences. We really want to try hard not to say no, but instead ask, how can we make this work for this family? And that mindset helps us respond thoughtfully to unique challenges that don't fit into a standard process.
You shared a little bit about the uniqueness already and how each family really is individualized. And in my personal opinion, the PWS community really is the best rare community out there. I'm a little biased, but there is something just really, really special about this community. Can you tell me a little bit about what you've learned while working with our community over the past year?
I'd love to, Stacy, so much. The Prader-Willi community is incredibly tight-knit. They're engaged, they're knowledgeable. These families are educating us as much as we're supporting them. We learn something new for them literally every single day. We've built close relationships, not just with the patients on therapy, but really the broader PWS community. I know we talked a little bit earlier, but many families come to us with hesitancy based on previous healthcare experiences, and we've learned how important it is to earn that trust. What inspires me most is the resilience of these families. Every story is different, every family brings perspective, it shapes how we work each day. This community continues to motivate us to do better and to show up with empathy, consistency, and respect.
You know, when we were in Pittsburgh, someone on our team, it actually may have even been you, Sherry, had asked, what else do we need to know? You know, what are some of the triggers? Are there times of year? Are there things that we should know and that our team should know? And I had so much respect for all of you before that, but that was a question that no one has asked before. Clinicians don't ask. And the fact that you guys were thinking about it just brought up this overwhelming sense of respect and safety. Like it felt like, oh, they get it. They get that they don't know everything. And that's, the experts always know more than we do. That's what we hear. So that was really a very special and telling moment for me personally. And I'm sure that our parents on the team who were there felt the same way. Let's transition into talking a little bit more about the insurance appeals. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but this is one of the things that takes a tremendous amount of time for our parents. Every month, every 6 months when a PA expires, it's a hard task for families to deal with on top of everything else. So, Tabor, can you tell me a little bit more about how you guys support families through that insurance appeal process?
Yes, happy to, Stacy. So we know that insurance approval is one of the most stressful parts of starting a new therapy, and that our families are carrying so much even before they start therapy. At Panther, I think as Sherry discussed, we have an entire team that's dedicated solely to insurance approvals. We will work directly with the prescriber to gather all the required documentation, and we will submit everything on the family's behalf. We know this is very different from what many families have experienced elsewhere. Here, we don't ask families to call insurance companies or to chase paperwork. We want families to focus on their loved ones, focus on their day-to-day life, not on navigating complex insurance systems.
So, what happens if the drug gets denied by the insurance company?
I think first, it's important to know that there are many patients who are approved at the prior authorization stage, especially when the right documentation is submitted. So I think everybody should go into this with an open mindset. If there is an additional initial denial, our team will immediately work to understand why. We'll obtain the denial details from the health plan. We'll review exactly what criteria were not met. And then in some cases, we can quickly address whatever's missing, whatever the health plan's looking for, and we can resubmit the prior authorization without even approaching an appeal situation. If we do end up in a situation where an appeal is required, we at Panther will guide the process from start to finish. Families are not expected to manage this on their own. And I know that's probably something different they're not used to, but we do not want to put that on their plates.
That is such an incredible gift to our families. Thank you.
It's hard not to get emotional, just even hearing you say that, because again, I think as rare families, we're used to going into every conversation, whether it's with our pharmacy or our insurance company or a physician, we're sort of ready to go to bat for our loved one and do whatever we need to do to remove the obstacle. So hearing that, your message is basically, we don't expect you to do this. We'll do the heavy lifting for you, and you can just be there. That's huge for us. As a PWS family, I'm always thinking like, well, how can I, I'm going to visit this doctor. I have to have a list of questions. I'm going to do this. I need to be ready. I need to be prepared. So really, what is it that you need families to do if this happens, if they receive a denial?
The most important thing for families to know is you don't need to prepare paperwork. You don't need to call insurance companies. Leave it to us. There may be rare situations where a plan does require some type of additional testing, some type of documentation. But if that's the case, we're here to guide families, caregivers, step by step on what that is. Before starting therapy, they shouldn't feel like they need to do everything right or to have everything right. Every plan's unique. We can manage those details. I think my central message to families is let us handle the process. We'll keep you informed, but we don't want to add more to your plate.
Well, that's a message I could listen to all day long, Tabor. Thank you so much. So I want to shift gears a little bit to Vince, who's with us as well. And Vince, I want to ask before you respond, can you just remind everybody listening, what's your role on this team? Looking ahead and thinking about, the lessons you've learned and what your takeaways are from, working directly with PWS families. What have you learned this year of helping families obtain this therapy, and what are you looking ahead to?
Of course, Melanie. So first, I am the supervisor of patient access, which is really just the insurance team. We're the ones working quietly in the background with the insurances to get these approvals and things like that. But I also worked as a care coordinator at the beginning of therapy too. So I've dealt with both talking with the patients and with, like I said, the background noise of getting all this done. So I think one of the there's millions of things that we've learned from families this year, but I think one of the biggest lessons is just how much the families carry every day. It's not just an appointment or, a refill of medication. It's part of a daily routine. It's planning, it's advocacy, and it's constant vigilance. The families are 24/7 when it comes to dealing with PWS and fighting the good fight and making sure that our patients and their children and their families are getting taken care of. I think we've also learned that families value most isn't just access to therapy. It's beyond that. It's consistency from Panther. It's trust. It's feeling understood. When care is coordinated and communication is clear, it removes stress from the families that they don't always realize that they have until we're kind of taking that weight off of them. So I would say those are the biggest takeaways that we've had.
I'm going to actually let Stacy ask the next question because I don't know if you know this, Vince, and I don't want to embarrass you. But Stacy is the reason why you're here today, and I want her to be able to say a little bit about that before she asks her next question. And I'll say that I think she speaks on behalf of myself and all of the other PWSA staff members who are all parents who were present at our training. And again, I think this really speaks volumes about Panther as a company. So go ahead, Stacy.
Well, now I'm going to get emotional. So when we were in Pittsburgh with you guys, I do a tremendous amount of trainings with clinicians, with schools, with providers across the country, and I have for a very long time. But one of the things that was so impactful was watching the faces of your team. And it was so clear that you got it, that you actually cared. And that's not always as a parent. For a lot of people in the healthcare space, it's a job. And we're all getting a paycheck. That's obvious. But it was so clear how much you cared and how impacted you were by what you were hearing and feeling from the stories that our team members were sharing about their lives. And I fell a little bit in love with you. It was really, really special. And every time I talk to somebody about Panther, I talk to them about not the medication, but the people. We've all learned you can get access to therapy in other places. What you can't get is what you give. And that is just so special. So now that I've thoroughly embarrassed both of us, I guess my question for you is, what has surprised you or maybe inspired you? Because what's happened is you've inspired me.
I'm gonna try to hold it together as I answer this question, but, thank you for the kind words, Stacy. The impact that this community has made on this job for me is I can't put it into words. I clock in every day realizing how important this is, and that fuels me every step of the way. But what's been most inspiring and, to be able to have that kind of motivation and that kind of mindset is just hearing about not only the difference that this therapy is making, but we talk about the growth hormone too, and we hear so many different aspects of our patients' life and their stories. And we recently had a patient come with their family, and hearing those stories firsthand is just it's incredibly powerful. It's giving you that not only, the perspective of the patient, but the perspective of the family and seeing, what they talk about, what they go through daily. They don't talk about metrics or milestones that the patients are going through. They talk about daily life. They talk about things being more manageable. They talk about hope. They talk about feeling supported instead of overwhelmed. And moments like that are a reminder that behind every program or milestone is a real person and a real family navigating something deeply personal. And that, again, is very obvious to everybody. One of the main reasons why I love being on this team and why I show up for you guys every day.
We are so grateful that you do. What are you most hopeful about as we move into year 2?
I'm hopeful because we're building a foundation of trust. We're building, whether that be with families, providers, or partners. As we move into year 2, we have a clearer understanding of what the families actually need, not just what the system assumes they need. That gives us the opportunity to keep improving how care is delivered, making it more proactive, more coordinated, and more responsive to real world challenges. Ultimately, I'm hopeful because we're moving closer to care that truly meets families where they are.
Families that are learning about this therapy and thinking about this as a possibility for their loved one, what do you want families to know and think about as they consider this?
Great question, Melanie, and I think the answer is probably even better. I think I think that, I would want them to know primarily that they're not alone, especially from Panther's perspective. This journey is not theirs to carry by themselves. We're here for them in any way that we can be. Starting a therapy can feel overwhelming, and it's okay to have questions. It's okay to have concerns or uncertainty. It's normal. I mean, look at the obstacles you guys have faced up until this point. So, this opportunity is completely new and completely different. And hearing stories about the growth hormone and we realize how difficult this can be just in general. What matters most is having a care team that listens, that communicates clearly, understands that this isn't just about treatment. It's about quality of life for the entire family, not just the patient. It's life changing for every person involved in our patients' lives. Our goal is to help make that journey feel more manageable, more human, and rooted in partnership every step of the way.
Thank you. Richard, I would like to ask you, what message would you like to share directly with PWS families or our broader PWS community that may be listening today?
Thank you, Melanie. My broader message is that we're trying to understand and help us to continue to understand what you need, what you're going through. We want to be here to support. We want to be here to help in any way possible. We're obviously excited over the past year to see some of the differences that have been made, but we know there's more to come. So we're here to partner with you. We're here to walk beside you. We're here to walk along with you and help you in any way that we can. So just excited to see what year 2, 3, 4, and beyond brings. So we're really excited about the partnership and working with you all.
Thank you. I want to go back to something that Vince said for a second. When you mentioned the quality of life for the whole family improving, we think of that from a treatment perspective very often. And we've certainly seen where that has happened, where the entire family has a greater quality of life. But I think one of the things that also improves the quality of life for the family members is the work that you guys are doing. By taking that burden of stress off of families, that immediately improves the parent's quality of life who's doing all of that work. And I can't highlight that enough. it's such an incredible gift to this community. And you guys are just absolutely amazing. And I am so, so grateful that you took the time to be with us and talk with us and share what you do and how much you care with our community. I don't think, here I go getting emotional again. I don't think that our families get to hear that enough. Even the families who maybe you haven't had the opportunity to interact with yet appreciate it. They know that there's people out there who care, who don't have to. And, somebody had said to me in the community, one of the greatest gifts that they ever received was meeting somebody who didn't have to care about their loved one and that they did anyway. And how special that is. And each one of you do that, whether you're interacting with the families directly or not. And on behalf of all of them, just thank you so much for caring as much as you do.
Thank you. We really do appreciate that feedback. It's what's near and dear to our hearts. It's what we believe, Panther was built on. We have a saying here that if you do the right thing for the patient, you do the right thing for the business. And so what you just said there, I think, exemplifies what we try to do. And we love the community and look forward to serving you more.
Thank you for listening to this episode of PWS United. If you want to learn more about Prader-Willi syndrome and how PWSA USA is making strides in advocacy, family support, and research, visit www.pwsausa.org. And while you're there, we encourage you to sign up for our Pulse email newsletter to stay informed about the latest news, resources, and events. Don't forget to subscribe to the PWS United podcast so you never miss an episode. Our team is always available to support families and their loved ones living with PWS 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. You can call us at 941-312-0400 or email info@pwsausa.org. Catch a new episode next Tuesday, and until then, have a great week.